when we get into the 666, I was listening to Rick Wiles on True News, earlier today. And Rick was, just he and his team were belaboring the idea of gematria and the idea of numerology. But here you see this big fat gematria right in the middle of Kizeon, or at the end of chapter 13 in Revelation. Now, in the Sefer, you don't see that, because in the Et Sefer, Jake, we have gone back and restored the original 3 Greek letters that were found there, which is, Chi, Tsi, Stigma. And those letters appear, they're actually in the Latin Vulgate. They retained the Greek letters in the Latin Vulgate. They retained the Greek letters in the Stephanus Textus Receptus. If you look up the Textus Receptus, the Stephanus, you're going to see those 3 letters there. You're not going to see the word 660 and 6. That's not there. It's 3 Greek letters. And so the 660 and 6 was the practice of gematria by the interpreters, who said those 3 letters had a gematric reasoning under some alphabet in the Greek time, whether it was the Ionic alphabet or some other alphabet. And I do not believe that any alphabet substantiates those 3 letters as 660 and 6. Just my take on it. But when you look at that, somebody said, well, that, the first one, Ki, that has a gematria of 600. The second one, Tsi, that has a gematria of 60. And the third one, Stigma, which is an obsolete letter, never appeared as the 6th letter, has a gematria of 6. So it's never 666, but 660 and 6 was the creation. When you get to the NIV, they say, well, look, you can read it, 6. If I put 666 in there, and it's not 6-6-6, but 666, the average reader would read 660 and 6. But they don't. Ronald Wilson Reagan, 666. No, it has to be 600. The first one has to be 600, the second one has to be 60, the third one has to be 6. This is why that gematria is not a good thing to explore at the end of that particular chapter. I think it's more important to see those very interestingly, because when you talk about the Chi, it looks like an X, Chi. And then the C, kind of like this, and then the Stigma. The stigma is a mark, right? You've been stigmatized. You have the stigmata. That's a mark. The X kind of marks the X in an equation, like an algebraic equation. And in fact, the number of the beast is called the arithmos. It says, you will know his number, the name, or the mark. But the number is called the arithmos. And the arithmos in Greek doesn't mean a particular number. It means an unknown number, like an X. Solve for X in the algebraic equation. So you see that the arithmos is marked by this X. The stigma is marked by this mark. But what's this Chi in the middle? What's that sound? What's that signify? Well, it's very interesting because it's consistent. That mark is consistent with what you see on every Islamic flag, which means Bismillah, in the name of Allah. So you can read it any way you want, but you have the number, which is the Chi, you have the mark, which is the stigma, and then you have the name in the middle. Now, there are other interpretations. I'm not saying that that's the end one. But you have to be careful about dividing the 660 and 6, which is gematria. For those who believe that there's no gematria in the New Testament, there most assuredly is. You have to remember that if that is gematria, what are you doing using it? And if you're going to use it, make sure you use it as 660 and 6.